You're listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. You're listening to music local and sustainable, and I'm your host, Dave Lake. Tonight we're talking with singer-songwriter Craig Tanner. But there's optimism in the song, because at the end, the shore is in sight.
Yeah, unfortunately, David, that's not optimism. It's just this carrot that keeps getting dangled in front of people. Movies are one of the biggest forms of propaganda, and now all these movies are about, let's go to outer space, and you do it. So what becomes the slogan of the human race? Here we come, hide your planets. I mean, that's really who we want to be in the context of things. It's ridiculous. So no, unfortunately it's not optimism. It's just this idea that you just keep pedaling hard enough and go far enough into debt. What? You can't dig a hole to build a hill. That's one of the lines from one of my songs in Parkman's Revelator. You can, but who would do that? Who would dig a hole to build a hill when you've got hills? It just doesn't make any sense. And so something culturally is driving us to collectively do this thing that doesn't make any sense unless you want a bunch of needless suffering. And so unfortunately, no, that line is not optimistic. It's just referencing this mirage that keeps getting put in front of everybody. But when you look at the consumption orgy of the last 150 years, where has it gotten us? That's what I would ask people. I would say nowhere. We're not off planet. We're not moving toward. We're moving towards the greatest income inequality modern man has ever seen, and it's getting worse every day. So it's this illusion, this mirage. If you just keep working, go far enough into debt, we'll get there one day. Now that shore is moving away from the people that are paddling. They'll never be able to paddle fast enough unless they finally stop and go, I gotta quit paddling in this boat. Every song on the record will reference these ideas, with the exception of one, which is a very personal song that references these kinds of things in the context of a family situation.
And what song is that?
The name of the song is As Cold as the Sun That Never Returns.
It's closing time and you and I are talking for a while about everything that matters, nothing else. The future is a sure goodbye, and the past you can't remember. So right now I'm only angry with myself when you ask me why. When you ask me why, when you ask me why, when you ask me why, I was as cold as the sun that would never return. That's when I realized the blame will never land. And so I reach out to you. It's the only thing that's left to do when you can't walk your path without a helping hand. For all these years she pleaded if he was only different. And then she told me that I'd turn out just like you. But sitting here and listening to you secretly defend her, I finally realized it's not the worst that I could do. Then I ask you why. 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 You were as cold as the sun that would never return. That's when we realized a plane will never land. And I reach out to you, it's the only thing that's left to do when you can't walk your path without a helping hand. We are as cold as the sun that will never return. When we're hoping that one day the plane will land. I should have reached out to you before it's all that's left to do. It's closing time and you and I are talking for a while about everything that matters, nothing else. The future is a sure goodbye and the past ain't much better. But right now I think I finally understand when you ask me why. Ask me why.
And I really don't want to say much more about that song than that because it's so personal. It's a song, it's one of these songs that I hope people would listen to and they would find a way to connect to it on their own. And there's a part of the song that's abstract enough where people can do that. Some of these other songs that are more folk songs, like Invisible Man, are stories, and they're very straightforward, and I wouldn't have any problem at all talking about what those songs are about because most people would get it after listening to them a couple of times. But there are a couple of songs that will be on Part Travel later that are more personal and they're more abstract, and they're still in their own way connect to this sort of theme of this disconnect of the way that we're living now. This is going to be a song on the record called Mockingbird that is about sort of my journey of playing open mic and then starting to gig, and for the last 4 years playing hundreds of bar gigs.
Black on white and white on gray, the mockingbird sings till the light of the day. One becomes two, two becomes three. Yeah, mockingbird singing all night in a tree. I just never thought that I'd ever be a mockingbird singing all night in a tree, singing for love. Can you hear me? So few will listen, but he won't come down till the seasons have changed and emptied the town, till hope is as lost as a flight without a wing. Yeah, the mockingbird listens and the mockingbird sings. just never thought that I'd ever be a mockingbird singing all night in a tree, singing for love. Can you hear me? I wanna fly, I wanna reach out and touch the heart of the sky. I wanna soar, I wanna leave this tired perch forevermore. All night, all night, all night, all night, all night, all night, 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 all night, all night, all night, black on white, white on gray. Yeah, the mockingbird sings the light of the day. One becomes two, two becomes three. Yeah, mockingbird singing all night in the tree. I just never thought that I'd ever be a mockingbird singing all night in a tree, singing for love. Can you hear me? All night, all night, all night, all night, all night, all night, 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 all night, all night.
Tonight we're talking with singer-songwriter Craig Tanner.
And a lot of the people that I gig with are completely, I mean, as you can imagine, they're completely burnt out. And it does suck. We played a W, and it was like every dude that hates music on the planet showed up. America and I play with Brit. She's a powerhouse. And people physically react to her. So it's very rare that we have a good gig with her where we don't get the crowd on our side, because she's just such a dynamo as far as performing and entertaining. And I mean, it was like playing into a black hole. And an hour of that, you can kind of say, it's fine. But the third set, you're just a normal human being. It gets to the point where when songs end, it's just uncomfortable. Even if you're like not upset with these guys, they have no idea we are, not upset with them. But obviously, they just want to talk, which is their business. They don't want this loud stuff on the side of the room. And there's a song that I wrote for somebody that died, that was a part of the Savannah homeless community and also a musician, a good friend to a lot of people. And Only Last Chance, because a lot of people think this is a drinking song, and it's very much a country waltz. And even though it's about Two Feathers, our friend that got run over by a car, he was 27 years old, a couple years ago, and he was homeless, so it's, once you know that, you listen to a song differently. But this is one I can play in bars, because people think it's a drinking song. And it is not a drinking song, but I don't really say that. Nobody's gonna go home. Everyone's staying downtown. We've all been locked out. Thumbing our nose at the crowd. So won't you pour me a tall one? All my friends won't be strong. We'll sing, we'll laugh, we'll dance. For this may be our only
strong. We'll sing, we'll laugh, we'll dance, for this may be our only last chance. Our only last chance to go crazy. Our only last chance to be free. Our only last chance to say, baby, what about you and me? Nobody's gonna go home. Everyone's staying downtown. We've all been locked out. Thought I knows half the crowd. So won't you pour me a tall one? All my friends want a straw one. We'll sing, we'll laugh, we'll dance, for this may be our only last chance. For this may be our only last chance.
You mentioned your involvement in open mics. For those who aren't familiar with open mics, describe what an evening at Abe's would be like.
Well, it's funny because open mics are all different. They all have their own personality. So the way I would talk about running an open mic at Abe's or Molly's would be different. But open mic at Abe's is more of a singer-songwriter open mic. It's a small space. It's not really practical to have a drum kit or have amplifiers or a band. So it's mainly one or two people that are playing an instrument like a guitar. People do cover songs, but there are a fair number of people that are doing original music too. So it's kind of a classic singer-songwriter open mic where you would sign up and get a space on the list, depending how many people are on the list, play 2 to 4 songs. That open mic, it's nice because there are a fair number of people that come in to hear the music that are not playing, and have some open mics that are so small that the majority of the audience is other musicians. But one nice thing about Abe's is that open mic has been around for a long time, and it has a pretty nice constituency of people that are music fans. And so it's an open mic where you can play and have your musician friends that are in the audience, but also be playing to people that are just there to hear music, and enjoy what you're doing. And one of the things I love about Abe's is just it's such a small room, but there are other places in that bar where you can go if you don't want to hear the open mic. And that's a really important thing, I think, for any kind of music in a bar, because what ends up happening is in that front room people choose to be there because there are other places they can go, and the music is way far in the background. And that's a big deal because ultimately after it gets going you end up with a group of people in that small front room that's very intimate, where it's easy to make connections, but they want to be there. It's not like they have to be there. It's not like someone sitting at a bar and drinking and they wish the music wasn't so loud. At Abe's you can go somewhere else if you just want to talk. And I think that's one of the reasons why that open mic over time has become very busy, and the room is just crazy. It's one of the oldest bars in the state of Georgia. I can't even stand up all the way in there without hitting my head. So it is kind of like going back in time. And it's like being in the bowels of a ship. It's like all these rough hewn beams, and so the sound in there is very resonant. It's almost like being inside of a small speaker when you're in there playing. It's one of my favorite nights of the week. So yeah.
And what night is that?
That's Monday nights.
And from when to when?
We get started around 9:30, and I play an opening set with one of my all-time favorite Savannah musicians and people, Mr. Williams, Anthony Williams, who's been playing blues harp on the streets of Savannah for 30 years. I met him when I was doing my photography workshops and photographing on the street. He busked on the streets, forever, for decades. And we just became friends, initially through taking his picture, and then he found out I played guitar, and I would join him sometimes and back him up when he was busking. And when I got a chance to take over the Abe's open mic from Matt Eckstein, I invited Mr. Williams to co-host that with me, and it's been a really great thing. He's a great friend and a great guy who's brought me a lot of joy, and he's a lot of fun to hear play. He's a true blues man who's lived the blues and has been playing the blues and making up blues songs for decades.
So it really becomes a listening room. People are there really to listen to the music.
It really does. There are nights when it is like that. It's still a bar, so there are definitely nights when the bar is full and people are talking. So it's not one of these open mics where it's a theater and listening is enforced by someone else saying that you can't talk at all. And there are open mics like that, and that's cool too. So it doesn't go quite that far, but it's cool because it does quite a few nights become more of a listening environment because of how small that room is, and because people can, like I said, go somewhere else if they don't want to be a part of the open mic.
Now, many of the people who perform here are young musicians just trying to make their mark, get started.
Oh yeah, I'd say the vast majority of people that are doing open mic are in that position. There's a significant number of people that just love open mic, and they gig, and they're established musicians in the city, and that's really cool too. And one of the amazing things about Savannah is that my journey with open mic started here, and then I kind of made a practice when I was still traveling and teaching workshops of doing open mic everywhere I went. And Savannah has an incredible open mic scene for a town as small as it is. There's a lot of open mics, there's a lot of good open mics, and there are a lot of gigging musicians who run open mics, because there's a lot of them, and because they run open mics, you want to sort of support each other. You kind of get into a practice of going and doing the other open mics. So yes, there are a significant number of people that are trying to gig, or maybe they just want to play original music. They have a day job, or they want to play covers. They don't want to do music for a living, but they want an outlet. And then, rarely you have some great touring musician that comes through and shows up. So it's a mixed bag, but the majority of people, I'd say, fall into the former category that you were talking about.
Now, many young musicians in town that I've talked to have found that your support has been very encouraging to them.
Well, that makes me feel good, because that's been a part of sort of my artistic life for a long time. Once I got into teaching, I really enjoyed it, and I really liked the idea of being the kind of teacher or support, hopefully, that was mainly encouraging, to try to inspire people to just do more and not be the kind of person to be like, okay, well, you're great, so I'm going to tell you you're great. To really try to support everybody. And a lot of that's just my own journey with art. I became a commercial photographer after a life-changing experience, and started living my life different than sort of the system that we've been talking about encourages you to do, where you think you have all these choices, but you're going through school and it's funneling you down into this very sort of narrow space, socially acceptable. And I became a photographer because I had a life-threatening episode where I sort of let go of a lot of those beliefs, and had not done art or photography or anything like that before, with the exception of some classes where you have to do it in high school. And that experience of kind of choosing to be something that looked from the outside like it would make me happier, but not having any evidence on the front end that, oh yeah, you should be an artist, or having taken an aptitude test, or having a gatekeeper go, yes, you're an artist, you should do this. It sort of solidified this idea of constantly questioning beliefs and systems. And so for me, running an open mic, one of my favorite things is to have somebody that comes in and they say, I've never done this before. And I'm terrified, because that's how I started doing music in Savannah. My workshop people that I was pushing really hard were like, well, what are you doing this scary? And I said, it's a good question, because not really that much, because I'm not afraid of these things photographically that y'all are afraid of. That's why I'm teaching the workshop. And they were like, well, this is kind of bogus. You're making us do all these uncomfortable things. You should do something that's really creatively uncomfortable. And I was like, you're right. And it took one more push. And then I did open mic before I lived here for the very first time at Miley's on Congress. And I'll have to say was greatly supported by Eric Dunn and Marcus Coleman at the time, both in the train wrecks. But because that was my step into actually playing music out and being terrified of it, I would give large group presentations as a teacher to hundreds of people and really enjoy it. But there was something terrifying about playing music in front of people, even though I'd played forever. And so for me, I don't always meet the standard, because open mic, it can be difficult, be a difficult thing to run, because you're trying to deal with a lot of different competing interests a lot of time. But I really try to think about the fact that I wouldn't be doing music if it wasn't for open mic, and also try to create a big space for somebody that's starting out. And I kind of have a little speech that I do where I get everybody's attention. And I say, the number 2 fear of human beings is burning alive. And number 1 is public performance. And so you really need to respect the fact that this person is crossing over into this threshold where you can be rejected in a way that's very, very socially painful, and we need to respect them and support, no matter how this goes down. And then somebody have the opening to forget the song or whatever. I'm a big guy. At that point, I can use my physicality and the way I'm talking as the leader of the room to make it okay. We're going to support no matter what. That's the most gratifying part of open mic. And there have been a few people that have come through that have played it for the first time. They were so nervous they could hardly play like I was, and now they're coming back and they're regulars, and they're starting to get over the fear by practicing being uncomfortable, and it starts to become normal and not something that causes a panic attack.
Now, you've said that creativity is mysterious, and you have to be available to the muse, right, to that inspiration. How do you share that with these young musicians?
Well, mainly what I've tried to do is to encourage people to write. And for a lot of people, the first step is just the public performance part, and they've got some cover songs they know, and it's just doing that enough to allow that nervousness to become normal so you can start to settle down. But ultimately, I do a lot of, sometimes it's too heavy-handed. It'll get too heavy-handed. But I try to really push people to write. Because if they want to have a long-term relationship with music, the thing that sort of connects all the people that you know about in the musical world, almost all of them, is ideas. It's the musical ideas. Whether it's a style, it could be a guitar player, maybe they only interpret other people's music, but they end up with an idea that becomes recognizable. But for the most part in the world of music, it's songs. You could look at a guy like Bob Dylan, who some people might say is not a great singer. I think his singing is fascinating and delivery is fascinating. But you could definitely say he's not an entertainer in the way that he inhabits the space of the stage, but Jimi Hendrix was. And both of those people have a legacy that's going on, and both of them had amazing ideas. So I try to really encourage people, as uncomfortable as it might be, particularly to write the first song. You don't know how to do it. That you need to get this practice of writing songs and playing them out and turn it into a practice. And one of the big things that I say is, I truly believe this, to be a better writer, you need to have an exciting life. You need to have the kind of life where you regularly get out of what's normal, meet new people, put yourself into new situations, and to be open as a writer to when something happens.
This has been another edition of Music Local and Sustainable, and I've been your host, Dave Lake. Save this time for another show next week.
Well, I know we ain't headed for the Hall of Fame. Gonna give it what we got, man, that ain't no shame. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1, 2. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1, 2.